first time tracker. Maybe this is a little have changed now. Used to be about 90%, maybe even more at present. The all what you need to remember is what they need to know about your class indications 1, 2A, 2B, and 3. And then level of evidence, maybe not that much, but definitely the class indication, whether it's a class 1, 2A, or I think 2A, 2B is plus minus. They want to make sure the class 1 and class 3. Any discussion which have one of them. Okay, let's go to few cases. The coronary angiography performed 48-year-old woman with abnormal stress test shows multivessel disease. Which of the following is not an important factor in selecting PCI versus CABG? Presence of diabetes, syntax score, suitability of target vessel for revascularization, and age of the patient. What is not important? PCI versus CABG. It's a 48-year-old, right? So basically, we all know that diabetes, yes, right? Clearly, diabetics more, and based on the syntax score, increasing complexity. So age doesn't matter, and particularly they are given 48 years. If somebody is 90, is maybe different, so they don't go for CABG. And so, now which of the following is not a finding from long-term follow-up from the syntax? TLR continues to worsen in the PCI arm beyond 1 to 2 years. Left main disease was major determinant of mortality. Cardiac mortality was lower in CABG patients with syntax score more than 22. And MI is increased in PCI patients with syntax score more than 32. B, left main, right? I mean, while 3-vessel disease in the syntax was trouble, left main actually did okay. And remember, actually, with the up to 32, left main had a lower mortality in the PCI group compared to CABG, and that was the founding stone for the Excel trial. So basically, for the once we talk complex, the overall group, whether you have low, intermediate, or high, and then you take it to that cardiac mortality was lower in the CABG group with syntax score more than 22. Is it? More than 22 is this group. There is no decrease in mortality. And left main was not a determinant. That's another question. Left main was not determinant for the mortality. Okay, factor affecting outcome of left main PCI include syntax score, use of supportive measures such as balloon pump, presence of disease involving the bifurcation, and the instability of the patient. Answer is, yeah. Remember, because very few patients get these devices. They do quite well. In the past, we used to use a lot of balloon pump, Impella, and so support devices are not the determinant. Angiography in previously healthy 60-year-old woman shows CTO of the large RCA with left to right collateral. Left coronary has 60% of the mid-LED, but not obstructed by FFR. Which of the following is not an important consideration selecting PCI in this patient? The experience of the operator, the persistent symptom despite anti-anginal therapy, significant dysfunction of the inferior and lateral wall, large ischemia demonstrable on stress testing. They're saying that which is not an important consideration in selecting PCI. CTO of the RCA and LED is negative, correct? So key is symptoms, ischemia, and the dysfunction or experience of the operator, right? Experience basically counts. CTO in a patient, the appropriate clinical indication and suitable anatomy is reasonable when performed by the operator with appropriate expertise. Now, they may make a JCTO score. Remember, JCTO 1 and 2, maybe not that, but 3, 4, and 5 should be go to experienced operator. The FREEDOM trial compared PCI with CABG in diabetic patient with multivessel disease. 5-year include the following except comparable mortality in the two group, higher MI in the PCI group, higher repeat revascularization in the PCI group, higher stroke rate in the CABG group. This should be simple, right? Answer is A, because there is a higher mortality, about 5% higher mortality. Same thing they have in the advanced syntax score, that 5% higher mortality, 16.3 versus 10.9. 95% stenosis of the vein graft to an obtuse marginal, planned following presentation of unstable angina. Which of the following is not recommended? Use of DES, placement of embolic protection device, pre-treatment with ticagrelor, administration of 2B3A inhibitor. Remember, earlier data showed in EPI stent, and epilogue that patients with the vein graft, somehow 2B3A they did worse. And that's why it is class 3, not indicated. Everything else, now actually, it has changed now. If the question comes, embolic protection device is no longer class 1. It has changed to 2A. Because many data have come after the initial SAFER trial and FIRE and SAFER, no longer class 1 indication, embolic protection for the vein graft. Very important. This little old slide, 3 years ago they changed, or 4 years when updated came. So no longer is a class 1 indication. Same thing like thrombectomy is no longer class 1 indication. It is only selected cases you do a thrombus removal in acute MI cases. So no longer class 1. Same thing, saphenous vein graft is no longer class 1 for the embolic protection devices because some people feel it may be even troublesome. Okay, approaching a bifurcation stenosis, use of a 2-stent technique is reasonable in the following scenario. Patient side branch, both have severe disease. Side branch is a large, significant vessel. Side branch is likely to become compromised after initial main branch stent and associated with ischemia. Side branch can be easily accessed after main vessel stenting. Yeah, so clearly that, of course, we all know the plaque burden, angulation, all those things are important. Many trials, but now we know actually based on our DK crush, that 2-stent approach using DK crush is superior to conventional. So bifurcation, side branch, they want to do provisional, although it has not changed. But if you think about the DK crush should change the guideline. And the more important is reasonable to use elective double stenting in patients with complex bifurcation morphology involving a large side branch where the risk of side branch occlusion is high and the likelihood of successful side branch reaccess is low. So that basically is the question here. Which of the following is not advised in adjunct rotational atherectomy? It should be adopted in non-dilatable or heavily calcified vessel. A lubricating solution should be used. The burst size should approximate the vessel size. Burst speed and time should be constantly monitored. C. Burst size is usually 0.5. 3 millimeter vessel, 1.5 bar. Atherectomy is done for again, it's not a class 1 indication. It's still 2A in a fibrocalcific disease. Significant difficulties encountered in attempting to deliver a long stent to a diffusely diseased distal circumflex. The following are reasonable options except for the dilatation with high pressure balloon, use of an over-the-wire stent compared with a mounted monorail stent, use of a guide extension, and use of additional guide wire to facilitate delivery to the stent. So basically is that what you do, over-the-wire stents are not the one, it's basically guide liner, double wire, dilatation again, then you do. Just like the case which we did yesterday, that circumflex. The multi-vessel PCI plan on a 68-year-old woman with diabetes, renal insufficiency and disease vessel. Procedural safety may be enhanced by the following except pre-treatment with a thienopyridine, statin, N-acetylcysteine, and adjunct treatment with 2B3A. Remember, basically they are gone away with the N-acetylcysteine. I can tell you half of the nephrologists still want to give Mucomyst. They became 3A because of the ACT trial, big 4,000 patient study, but a lot of people still give. And question is always, I give it, we were in our lab, many of us give it. I said, why? It may work as a placebo. Patient feels good. My kidney is being taken care. It's really being taken care with the hydration and less dye, but they feel good. So we give it. ACT result basically showed no results and so negative outcome. Okay, 67-year-old male with ES end-stage renal disease and left main with triple vessel disease. Syntax score is 30. LV systolic function is markedly depressed. Compared with support using an IABP, the use of an Impella device could be associated with what? Lower mortality, lower MI, lower repeat revascularization, and higher stroke rate. This is basically right out of the PROTECT 2 trial data. What did it show basically? Lower mortality? No. Lower MI? No. Higher stroke rate? Slightly higher with Impella. But lower repeat revascularization was the one which saw in the PROTECT 2 trial, similar syntax score. And you can see here, death, stroke was slightly higher at the 1 year. The big difference, as I mentioned, was the repeat revascularization. Lower repeat revascularization. And the stroke rate was, identical. Yeah. For every 1,000 patients with primary angioplasty rather than thrombolytic therapy, primary angioplasty saves approximately how many lives? That question they always ask because of the meta-analysis, that 2 to 3% about you saves about 2 lives per 100 patients. So this is data 21 lives, 6.5 over 4.4, and this is where they say if you need to calculate number needed to treat, basically the absolute difference, which is 2.1 and 100 divided. So that will be, in this particular case, 2.1 divided by 100 will be about 40. Sorry, what happened here? It's going to come. Okay. So yeah, basically it's about 2% difference. So same questions will come about those issues. That is, the number of patients needed to treat with B. It's a little complex, but key is the NNT is 100 over absolute risk reduction. And like this particular case, 100 over 21, 48 NNT. Absolute difference, 100 divided by absolute difference is your NNT. Patient develops sudden slow flow after PCI of the LED without dissection. Next step, stent, nitroglycerin, nipride, verapamil, or TPA. Yeah, so remember what basically they want is that nipride is not 50 micro. Next step is give nipride. Why? Stent is not good. Nitroglycerin 200 microgram, not for the microvasculature. Verapamil is good, but 50 microgram. The dose for verapamil is 250 to 500. Adenosine is 80 to 120, and the cardizem 250 to 100, and some people have given TPA in the past. Yeah, this is clearly will ask the question. In a patient undergoing a PCI on bivalent with creatinine clearance of less than 30, the bolus should be reduced, the infusion should be reduced. Infusion should be reduced to 0.25 milligram per hour. Infusion should be remain 1.75 milligram per kilogram per hour. So very important, the infusion should be reduced to 1 milligram per kilogram. If the bolus remains the same, it is the infusion which is decreased from 1.75 milligram per kilogram per hour. Perform PCF 70% lesion of the LED with heparin and integralin when you are informed that ACT is 170. What is the correct step? Give another 50 units per kilogram, or 25 units, 70 units, or 60 units. This came out from the trial, basically, is that you give 25 units, even if you're ACT, because you want about 225. So 25 units per kilogram bolus should be given. And these are the individuals which you need to remember, half-life wise, and what is your percent dose in the bolus. Abciximab, what is small. So clearly, if you need to remove the drug, a small molecule, you need to take it out by filtration or dialysis. Particularly for the abciximab, if you give a new platelet, will be okay. Platelet transfusion will not work for small molecules. Why? Which is in this. Because there is so much circulating drug. You give new platelet, they will be occupied. They will be blocked. So new platelet transfusion will not work. Your drug to receptor ratios, you see, so a lot of circulating drugs is still there. Only way if you want to reverse it, you need to send for dialysis. And this is the so common question I think they may have asked you, presented earlier. The 60-year-old patient started on enoxaparin. Clopidogrel, last piece, enoxaparin dose was 7 hours prior to PCI. The best option is PCI without any extra dose. Add 2B3A, add a 2B3A plus heparin, and add enoxaparin 30 milligram IV post-procedure to PCI. Remember, it's 8 hours, less than 8, 8 to 12, or more than 12. So basically that is that you proceed 1/3 between 8 to 12 hours. After 12 hours, it's the regular way. This patient has a non-QMI is scheduled to undergo coronary intervention. Diagnostic cath 2 days ago revealed complex 20 millimeter long lesion in the proximal RCA. Is a chronic therapy with aspirin, has received Plavix and loading dose of 75 milligram for past 2 days. She has been treated with IV heparin infusion, which is interrupted at the time of the sheath insertion. Her weight is 80. Use of weight adjusted dose of abciximab has been opted. Which of the following statement regarding the appropriate next step for this patient management is correct? You are ready to do PCI. Abciximab plus IV heparin. 10,000 units of IV heparin should be administered. and check the and coagulation ACT, F6 plus IV heparin, and then 5,600 units of IV heparin should be given immediately after insertion of femoral sheath, and F6 should be administered when ACT is 200 to 300 second, and none of the above. So question is, when patient already on heparin drip, what you need to do, you need to check your ACT, because ACT has to be measured first before any heparin is given. There's nothing, all theory. Patient comes on heparin, we don't know exactly how much and how far. You want to decide F6, you do ACT, and based on that you decide how much heparin bolus need to be given. An invasive strategy with adjunct 2B3A compared with a conservative strategy has been shown to have a higher mortality, lower mortality, reduced death or MI, to increase death or MI. 2B3A basically. So what basically showed of the 2B3A? None of them showed decreased mortality except in the epi-stent diabetic group. That was the only one showed. Otherwise, we combine endpoint. If you make it the death or MI, usually myocardial infarction. The mortality, morbidity of non-STEMI compared to STEMI. So this is also a good question always. The STEMI and non-STEMI, we know STEMI has higher mortality in-house. Non-STEMI has lower mortality in hospital, but higher subsequently because of the more complex disease and comorbid conditions. So basically what happens is, these are the data, lower in hospital, higher at 6 months, because many studies have shown that patient with ST elevation, higher mortality in-house, but after that, it is a higher mortality in patient with non-ST elevation. Okay. A 64-year-old man has been treated with aspirin, statin, nitrate, beta blocker. Hypertension, hyperlipidemia, successfully controlled diabetes. He recently had somewhat more frequent angina, and stress test showed reversible anterior perfusion. Angiography shows 80% LAD, 40% circumflex, 40% RCA, EF 55%. Which of the following is correct? Surgical therapy offers a survival advantage over medical therapy. Both PCI and surgery offer a survival advantage over medical therapy. Strict hypertension control is not necessary after successful revascularization. According to the Berry trial, surgery should offer a survival advantage over PCI in this patient, and none of the above. So one vessel disease by definition now. Remember Cabbage trials, earlier European Society, two vessel disease of the LAD and two vessel disease involving proximal LAD had a survival advantage over medical therapy. Otherwise, the VA and our CAS study, all three vessel disease, did better compared to medical therapy. And of course, when they have more stress test positivity and so. So basically, we have, and Berry trial was basically trial of the diabetic patients and showed with a multi-vessel disease. It was a multi-vessel disease trial in which the patients with the Cabbage did better compared to PCI after 3 years. But that was a trial of 3-year trial. So none of the above. So just to say those answers, basically, TIMI risk score, you just need to know those have a higher, problem. And so many trials, they're old trials. I don't think they're going to ask, and they already have shown to anytime you have stronger antiplatelet therapy will be associated with higher bleeding rate. That is, you need to know clearly the group of Pressagul where you use a lower dose. A similar message for the Plato trial. Fondaparinux, nobody uses enoxaparin, and so though cause more catheter-induced thrombosis. That's a very, very important issue. And bivalvulotin, these are one issue remain if ever a question comes. Pressagul versus clopidogrel for ACS without revascularization, which is a medical management trilogy trial. What did it show? Pressagul was not better compared to Triton and others, not better than clopidogrel because in the medical management, and that is why while the ticagrelor is still okay for medical management compared to clopidogrel, but Pressagul only for PCI. Patient going for PCI, that's where the advantage shown. Following are the PCI versus Cabbage trial for multi-vessel disease, except, okay, which one? East, Berry, Cabri, Irachi, and Cass. What is Cass trial? I just said. Cabbage versus medical therapy. Right? One vessel trials, ACME was single vessel disease trial, Cabbage Mass, and then SOS, Arts, and Irachi. The patient with the multi-vessel trial, PTC and Cabbage, were Irachi, Rita, Cabri, Gabby, East, and Barry, and so. Now, the one question they still ask that where the Cabbage is superior, although there is PCI group, we know now more complex disease and diabetic patients, but that actually some data have been the left main always Cabbage is superior to medical therapy. 3-vessel disease, 3-vessel with LV dysfunction, 2-vessel disease, one being proximal LAD, which I talked to you about, and 2 or 3-vessel disease. Very important, the last line. There was no difference in QMI and return to work. Patient felt better after Cabbage, but nobody, this is the American system, right? And they go on disability, nobody goes back to work. Yeah. And these are the advantages, disadvantages. Okay. Which of the following statement regarding the trials of PCI versus Cabbage is true? Diabetic did better with PCI than Cabbage. Cabbage has lower MI versus PCI. Cabbage has higher restenosis versus PCI. PCI cheaper than Cabbage. So this is from the Barry trial, and that they've showed that cumulative, while there was a benefit of Cabbage in terms of lower mortality, and particularly for the diabetic, once you go to the cost was cheaper. Now, distal protection we already talked about. This is going to change now. It's no longer class 1 indication now, and various mechanisms we know. The SAFER trial, they may ask, decrease by half or 40%, 14.7 event rate to 8.6 with the guard wire, and then similar kind of data for the FIRE trial. FIRE trial compared both of them, filter wire and guard wire, they were equal. Okay, 58-year-old female, typical angina, positive stress test, undergoes stenting of the severe circumflex stenosis. There is an additional smooth 50% stenosis RCA. How do we proceed with this RCA? Angiographically looks 50%. You found a 90% circ, put a stent. No further treatment, just treat medically. Just stent without further exam. Send the patient to the ward for MIB SPECT, major FFR, major coronary flow reserve. Question always comes, like you have 50-60% lesion. Do you want to do anything further or interrogate that lesion? And that is what they want you to do. That once you have a less than 50%, 30, 50, probably nothing, but 50, 60, 70% lesion, besides a very tight lesion, you need to guide by FFR, whether you do same time or bring the patient for a stage intervention. And so nothing else needs to be done except doing the FFR. In a symptomatic patient with angiographically 3-vessel disease, 90% LAD, 70% OM, 70% RCA. FFR is measured and the value are 0.45, 0.89, 0.65. Based upon these findings, you have to consider the following possibility. Which of the following would you choose? Patient qualifies for bypass surgery anyway. It is safe to perform stenting of the LAD and RCA to relieve symptoms. Further stenting of the OM can be safely deferred. The patient prognosis is improved by stenting all 3 lesions. It is sufficient to stent the LAD stenosis. Medical treatment in this patient is as good as interventional treatment. I mean, with the ischemia trial, they might, it may be a little different, but E may be right now, but they probably not got into the trial. So key is basically very simple, that you have FFR negative vessel, which is your circumflex. So that can be, no need to work on it. And now if they start giving that it's a diabetic patient, then of course you have to decide for Cabbage. But otherwise you just do a 2-vessel PCI of LAD and RCA, which we have done already. Okay. Multi-vessel, repeat vessel, we have spoken that. Okay. Yeah, this one they always want to cross-match. Remember that always, this question they will ask. Modest decrease in coronary blood flow and decrease of myocardial energy metabolism in a steady state that may last months. Transient decrease in coronary blood flow followed by normal or high coronary blood flow and normal metabolism lasting hours or days. Severely decreased coronary blood flow and increasingly decreased metabolism lasting minutes to hours, and multiple short attacks of coronary blood flow decrease followed by complete reperfusion. So I have the answer already there, but just to remember this part, very important. Hibernation is modest decrease in blood flow, decrease in myocardial energy, hibernating myocardium, classical. Then what is stunning? Transient decrease followed by increased blood flow. That's your stunning. Then ischemia is decreased blood flow, which is lasting, is not infarcting, but decreased blood flow. And then multiple short attacks are the preconditioning. Remodeling is, of course, the positive balance. That is the mechanism usually for the non-atherectomy, non-stenting devices. So they're basically acute gain, late loss, net gain is very simple. We need to calculate. Basically, acute gain is what your pre-PCI to post-PCI, and after post-PCI, when patient comes back for the follow-up, that's your late loss. And the net gain is from pre-PCI to what is the lumen post. So loss index is your late loss over acute gain. More important, intervention leads to MLD of 0.3 and 2.2. Follow-up angiogram, MLD is 1.8. Late loss is, the question is, what is the late loss? This basically just have to subtract 0.30 to 2, right? It's basically 1.9 was your acute gain, correct? On the final angiogram, and follow-up angiogram, your MLD is 1.8 and reference vessel is 2.8. So question is late loss, go by 0.40. Because 2.2, your MLD post, and then follow-up is 1.8. Rotational atherectomy have shown to improve procedural outcome, deceleration, rota flush, short run, birth to artery ratio more than 0.9, slow packing and low speed. Of course, birth to artery ratio 0.9 is the bad one. And this is basically patients who are asymptomatic with the restenosis, they do fine on a long term. Asymptomatic patients remains good. 67-year-old patient undergoes bypass for severe 3-vessel disease. Approximately 12 hours after the surgery, he becomes short of breath and has a 3 mm ST elevation in the infralateral lead. The best management of this patient is conservative, coronary angiography followed by catheter-based treatment, coronary angiography followed by surgical-based treatment, and coronary angiography followed by conservative treatment. So basically, this patient just had surgery, develop ST elevation. What usually means they probably have sutured the graft or some thrombosis. So those patients should go to the cath, and if required, they do the PCI. Chronic CTO is most common in which vessel? RCA, and least in circumflex, and so. So there are a lot of other questions. I have it here, and I just want to stop it at this point. Taken the last one, ACC, AHA classification. All your features of A, B, and C should remember, because they still like to see what are the features of C. And C basically is CTO more than 3 months, not a severe calcification. Moderate to severe calcification is type B. And C is degenerative vein graft, CTO, inability to protect the side branch, excessive tortuosity, angulation, and lesion length more than 20 millimeter. So those you need to remember, ACCH, and that question will be asked. With that note, as I mentioned that all the questions, I have almost 150 questions here, which will be all available very shortly to you. And any specific question I can answer. Otherwise, have a good luck and enjoy your rest of the day. But key is that don't get stressed out with the exams. Usually exam is much simpler than your cardiology board. Interventional board exam is much simpler than cardiology board. That is, in a sense, the issue. Okay, bye-bye.